Greetings, chess friends. Today we have a lot to talk about. This is a lesson for attackers, and we're going to learn about a real key square to attack and how to do so when the king is castled. So some of you may know these as the Greek gift. And as we warm up here, I'll tell you a bit of a fun story. I had a student that came from China, and he knew this concept, strong player already, maybe 1800. He knew this concept, and when we translated what he called it in his language, he had said, the old-fashioned sacrifice. So he knew already this idea of sacrificing, but from a different name. So I like that always, the old-fashioned sacrifice. Now, why does this really work? When the king is castled, we all know castling is a good idea, but it's really not the f7 square that's the danger square, but often h7. Why not g7? Why is it h7 and not g7? Well, it's just the way the pieces are placed and the way the chess pieces move. In one move, the bishop can be threatening h7. The knight, how many games does your knight land here? Almost every game, right? And in one move, you're threatening h7, and the queen, many different avenues to be attacking h7 in just one move. So g7, if you try to work it out, is not nearly as easy to attack. So these three pieces, and sometimes the rook, keep that in mind, actually have a direct line to h7, and that's why this all works. Let's see the oldest example of this. My goodness, this game is one of the oldest games in the database, coming from 1620, 400 years ago, folks. That's no joke. I don't know how they found these games. Maybe they were notated on a stone tablet, chiseled in or something. But this is the games, many games actually in the database from Greco. Pay attention to h4. Actually, this will come up in another example. Not a move I would necessarily recommend right here, but it's the 1600s, so let's give them a break. E5, a really important idea, and we're going to see this again later. Whenever you open the vision of that bishop to the h7 square, you need to have this move on your mind. Bishop takes. Notice our pieces are already well placed, even our queen and rook, which haven't moved, to attack h7. Why do I keep mentioning the rook, right? Here, bishop takes h7. In the first instance of this classic sacrifice, Greek gift, Greco is Italian, so I don't know how Greek gift came to be, but I get the idea. Knight g5, and now you'll see where the rook comes into play. Bishop takes g5 and h takes. Had the king moved back, it would have been the more traditional workings of this sacrifice was queen h5 threatening mate, and there's a few delaying type moves, but eventually this is going to be checkmate. So he plays bishop takes, pawn takes, king g8, and queen h5. This classic battery with our major pieces. And here, a nice touch. I doubt that en passant was even a move, legal at this time, but he didn't do it no matter what, in g6. That really slams the door on the king escaping, and g6, it's just forced checkmate. Any move that's made runs into queen h8 checkmate. So, very nice game. Let's see another one from not quite as long ago, but around the 1880s, I believe this game was played. And another Italian here playing with the wide pieces. He played the similar concept. Notice the pawn on h4, the knight on f3. We're a little later into the game on e5 here. This is move number 9. And move 10 is bishop takes h7. This classic sacrifice destroying the king side. Notice in these, though, I really want to show you this important detail that there aren't enough defenders around the king. We're going to see sometimes a little later in the lesson when this is actually not the case and the sacrifice doesn't work, but notice there's no defenders really in the area, and the king is essentially left alone. The rook is close by, but it doesn't guard key squares. Again here, if you had taken, it would have been nearly identical to the last one. So maybe king g6 is at least a try. Actually, the best move here is queen d3, and not entirely difficult to spot. But he played in the game knight e2, which I like, and knight f4, which is threatening queen h5 checkmate. So what you'll notice as we go through a bunch of these today is they're all a little different. which is, of course, the nature of chess. It's not going to be exactly the same. So you need to absorb the lessons, the ideas, and then apply them to your own games. Love h5. Really nice attacking move. The knight is under attack, hanging in two different ways, but everything here now is just leading to checkmate. This rook, which hasn't even moved, is our best piece, and that's a discovered attack. King g7, rook h7, and a very natural move, queen h5. It's tempting to go queen h5 first, I would admit, and actually you are immediately worse after rook h8. So be alert to those obvious looking moves. Maybe are not always best. Have a critical eye when you're playing chess. Rook h7, queen h5 now, and essentially it's just checkmate by force. He plays bishop f6, and you have a whole choice of checkmates here. Take your pick. You could play pawn takes. You could play rook g7. He plays rook h8 and resigns, but if bishop takes, then queen h7 is checkmate. Success. Here, legendary Alexander Alekhine. Here, again, early in the game, move number 6, puts his bishop on a nice aggressive square. I believe this was from a simul, which usually means a great difference in skill between the players. But here, captures, not ready to take yet, although I'm sure he considered it. But captures back. White is a comfortable position here with an extra pawn, but after the lazy rook e8, bishop takes h7. Again, notice no defenders anywhere in sight here around the king. There are no defenders. And knight check. Engine giving queen takes is the best move. But after king g8, queen h5 again. You see how the pieces just nicely coordinate to these squares. f7 also under attack in this one, and h7. f6 really doesn't do it, but black was in a bad situation already. Again, engine just giving queen takes knight. Queen h7, queen h8, and queen takes g7 is checkmate. Thanks to the knight guarding e6 and the pawn guarding d6. That is a mate. So you can see how powerful this concept can be. These were all pretty light examples. Everybody just rolling over and letting themselves get checkmated. Let's see a couple instances where this might not be the case. So this is not a real game. I just put kind of the outline of a position here. Of course, there would be more pawns and black would have a queen and such. Okay, but when you play this bishop takes h7 type of move, you really need to watch out for at least two ways that the other team can defend. So here, I've set them both up here, but there's two ways that black gets to defend this. The most overlooked, I would say, is bishop f5, which guards that h7 square. So if the bishop can get to that square and guard h7, you really need to be alert for that before you sacrifice. The other instance would be knight getting to f6. Notice it might come from d7 or from d5 or perhaps somewhere else coming to f6, which guards mate and attacks the queen. A very useful move. So when you're sacrificing at this moment, again, this is just an outline, not a real game. With the pieces on these squares, capture, capture. This would be actually a big mistake, noticing that the black pieces can get back in time for defense. Let's see a real game situation. Actually here, black is a grandmaster. If you don't know that name, definitely worth looking up some games. Representing the USA, and he was, Kazdan, was actually winning this game comfortably. We're up in exchange with black. We have this beautiful passed pawn, and that bishop takes h7. Defending is not fun, but we have to do it. Here, king takes, by the way, king h8 would run into queen h5, and things are very scary here. g6, bishop takes g6. Okay, not fun, but we capture the best move. You know it's coming. Queen h5, knight g5, and let's pause here and allow you, the viewer, to try to play defense against this sacrifice, the old-fashioned sacrifice. Actually, two winning moves here for black. One clearly better than the other. You can at least say this is an emergency. If we need to sack our queen, we could do it. Count the material. We're actually doing fine with this extra c-pawn really close to the finish line. But there's a much better move here, and it's similar to what I was just talking about. The best move in the position bishop e4. Just a note about defending, you have to keep an accurate material count because oftentimes, like this, you have to give material back. Why are we giving away a bishop, Chris? Well, we're up a rook. So it's okay to give a bishop if it survives, checkmating attack, and you keep playing. The engine giving -5 here. Black is just completely winning. So this game continued c2, rook fd8, spying that square, h3, f5, and then this move was on our mind from earlier, queen takes g5. A nice end to the game, rook d1 and resigns. So a nice, whoops, did he resign here? Rook takes c1, resigns, yeah. So a nice conclusion to that game, but really the star move, bishop e4, by an excellent grandmaster playing defense there. Okay, so those were a couple about the defending side of things. Let's get back to sacrificing and winning. And here we have some legends here. We have Karpov, absolute legend of chess, losing to another legend here, Judith Polgar, who is with the white pieces. Karpov grabs the extra pawn here, hoping to get back in time. And a sneaky rook lift comes here from Judith. What is our opponent trying to do? Well, you can already see these bishops are dreaming of this sacrifice. Now the rook. This also frees the queen. Judith was a relentless attacker. Wonderful, wonderful games. If you like attacking chess, definitely check out the games of Judith Polgar. Queen c5, Karpov, the legend, blunders. And I think he may have already been a little in trouble here, but bishop takes h7, queen check. I believe this is where he resigned the game, not allowing her even to play the fantastic move, which she surely would have played. There's only one winning move here. Notice rook h3 cannot be played safely. There's one winning move here, and that is bishop takes g7. The double sacrifice. Incredible here, and she, I'm sure, would have played that, finished it up nicely, and rook g3 and queen g5. That is checkmate due to the other rook helping us guard some squares. This guards the queen. Really wonderful there. Bishop h7, and then another move later, bishop g7, just destroying the king side for black. Judith, a real legend of chess. Okay, let's see another similar one here. And actually, these were, I would say, the next tier down from legends, but certainly Walter Brown, an American legend of chess, Tony Miles, a legend of England and Great Britain, the first grandmaster. Both very, very strong players in their day. Bishop takes h7. This one similar, but has a little extra polish needing to be done before the job is done here. So king g8, bishop takes. Almost feels like in this position we don't have enough pieces. But bishop g7, the only winning move. And here, what I mean, and a little extra work is needed. The direct rook lifts would not do. So I'm going to show that as well. Queen g5 check. Queen f6 check. A very important move. And this goes back to really what I would say one of the most important lessons, that every move matters. The better chess player you get, as you get stronger, you'll realize more and more that every move is critical. Every move, not most. And here, the lazy rook c4, of course, it's just checkmate all this thing, whatever move. Well, you would be very surprised when they drop f6 in, and this is not a checkmate by force. And in fact, here, black is doing just fine. Black has plenty of material, and the engine gives zeros, but the other next moves are in favor of black. So you really need to be accurate here. 2 minors and a rook is a lot for the queen. Okay, so not the immediate rook lift, but a very precise queen f6, blocking that f pawn from moving, and now rook c4. And the engine just giving force mate coming here. So really a nice game there by Tony Miles. Again, that double bishop sack. I'm going to do another video on where this came from. Perhaps the first instance in all of chess was Lasker, and he had a classic double bishop sack game. So everybody learned from him, but like I said, every game is different. So you have to be really calculating, be accurate, and not just take things for granted. Okay, let's see one last one, again from Tony Miles. Seemed like he has a real penchant for this type of sack, but this is actually the most amazing one that I found. And what looks like a pretty traditional opening start here. The F pawn may be a little different than we're used to seeing. There was just a trade on d2, and he came back with the knight, abandoning the king. And here, an opponent 2400 rated, so these are obviously strong players. Capture this bishop, has a smile on his face after that, opens up the line of sight. Knight takes. How did you guess? Bishop takes h2, but this one really sensational. After queen h4, there is one winning move here, and I'll bet you can't guess what it is. There's one winning move here, and if you want to pause here, this is a really stunning one. You're probably thinking, of course, bishop takes g2, Chris. I've been watching. No. Watch this. To stop, again, some of these f-pawn moves, guarding all the way. Bishop f3. Stunning move. Stunning move. That's a once-in-a-lifetime type of move to get to play over the board, but a beautiful concept. It reminds me also of Fischer having a rook f6 type of move that can just be taken. He moves the knight. Let's examine what if they just take. We have to ask the question, right? Either queen or rook. I feel like starting with the queen would be more human way, just to force them to the h-file. And then rook f6. So that was really the concept behind bishop f3 not being actually a free piece, of course, mouse slip over the board. So in the game, white plays knight d2, scrambling, but then bishop takes, surprise, because the queen is actually not getting back over. Of course, capturing this, let's examine, would run straight into the same idea. Rook f6, there's a few desperate moves here, but it's all going to lead to extreme danger. Okay, this is the real game though. f3, rook f6, just still leaving the bishop there. Knight c4, which does introduce the queen, but bishop h3, and white just resigned here. White resigned. So kind of, I wouldn't say a surprise, but an abrupt finish. It looks like we have 2 pawns for the minor piece, but of course this attack is raging on. Notice he didn't even take the rook. We'd rather the bishop stay alive and attack. This rook is coming to g6 or queen, very close by, and at any moment we can take the rook and pocket a little material. So beautiful game there. I just can't get over bishop to f3. That one really just something else. So out of this world. And you had to have seen that when you sacked the first bishop, because it's the only move actually. Any other move here is not winning. Any other move at this moment. Okay. Wonderful job, everyone. I really hope you had some fun, perhaps trying to guess some of the moves or just enjoying and watching along. If you do have any other topics or even games you want to send in, I'm happy to take a look, trying to get some other ideas for lessons here, so for videos. So definitely send those along, comment, subscribe, enjoy, tell your friends, and I'm going to keep producing more chess content as the days go by. So thank you very much, and wish you all the best over the board.